This is an Archdiocesan calendar training. So what I plan to do is pull up the calendar template and just fill it out. And if you want, you can pull up your calendar template and follow along and fill yours out as I go. And you can pause it if you need to, or you can just watch this recording and fill it out later, and you can always come back to the recording later. So first, to make sure that you know where to find the calendar, it is located in the principal bulletins. It was first posted on Tuesday, January 2nd in the principal bulletin. If you just scroll down, you'll see it. And I'm sure it will be in all of the current principal bulletins for quite a few weeks. So just find a principal's bulletin, scroll down, you'll see the template. There's a link for the template, and then there's a link for the instructions. Okay, I am going to start by sharing my screen and pulling up a blank calendar template. So let me do that. And so here it is, and I hope that all of you can see this. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your school name here, and then you'll put your principal name. And we're going to talk about these colors here. You will notice that there's different color designations for different days. So the first and last day of school, you would fill that field in yellow. Any holy days or holidays, you would fill in red. PD days, blue, etc. And I'll kind of show you how to figure out where those colors are in a minute. So the first thing we're going to do, down at the bottom of the calendar here, you will notice there's a calendar tab and there's an information tab. This right here is your calendar tab. So I am going to click on the information tab. And I'm going to scroll up. It shouldn't look blank like that. Mine was scrolled down. So this is the information tab. This is where you want to start. So again, you'll see a field where you put your school name in. And then you're just going to proceed and you're going to answer these questions that are the yellow fields. You will notice that as I put numbers in here, these white fields are going to pre-populate. So first, and I am just basing this on, a generic school. I'm going to base it on the school where I used to be principal. So instructional time begins, for us, it began at 8:00 a.m. And you will notice over here, it tells you capital AM or capital PM. So you put a space and then capital AM. Then that particular school that I was at closed at 2:30 p.m. That's when the school day stopped. So again, a blank and then a capital PM. Now you'll notice, see how these numbers pre-populated, they're negatives right now because I haven't hit enter here yet. But when I hit enter, so it says total minutes per day, 390. This is just based on an 8 to 2:30 day. Total instruction hours per day, 6.5. Now, I have row D here where it says minutes for breakfast and lunch, uncountable recess. Basically what this is, and if you pull out your instructions, it talks about how time spent during lunch and breakfast cannot be counted as instructional time. It also talks about recess, that you are permitted one recess. So like your kiddos, your primary kiddos probably go out to recess in the morning. That's okay. You are allowed to count that as instructional time. However, the recess after lunch, you cannot count as instructional time. So basically, the number of minutes here is your lunch and recess combined. If you're a school that has breakfast, you add that in if it's during instructional time. If it's before school, your school day starts at 8 and breakfast is at 7:30, you do not need to count it. Only if breakfast is during your instructional time. So for my school, we had a 20-minute lunch and we had a 20-minute recess. I realize a lot of schools have 15 and 15, so they might add up to 30. But my particular school was 40 minutes, 20-minute lunch, 20-minute recess. Now you'll notice when I hit enter here, this total instructional hours per day is going to go from 6.5 to 5.83. So it took out those minutes. Those are not countable instructional minutes. Okay? Now, this number here in row F is kind of like your magic number. This is the number that you are now going to use to fill out your calendar in the other tab. So my number here is 5.83. I'm now going to click over to my calendar and I'm going to put 5.83 in every day that's a full day. So I decided for next year, I want to start, first day of school is going to be August 20th. So I'm going to go up here to where, see this bucket? This is your fill bucket. It's already that yellow color. So I'm just going to click it and notice it turns to yellow. And I'm going to put in 5.83. At my particular school, we go the whole day, the first day of school. Some schools might get out early. And if that's the case, let's say you get out 2 hours early, then you're going to subtract that 2 hours from that number. So if I got out 2 hours early, my 5.83 would only be 3.83. So you just put that in there. So then I'm going to proceed and keep putting 5.83 in all of the fields that I have a full day of school. Now, a quicker way to do this rather than doing one every time is I would put in a block of 5 of them. So like, I'll show you here, 5.83, 5.83, 5.83, 5.83, 5.83, and then I'm going to copy and paste it. So now I'm going to click and drag down, and then I'm going to right click and copy. And then I can go to all these other blocks of 5. I'm even going to go to this gray block section here too, and I'm going to shade it in, right click, paste. So then I'm just going to proceed to do that for all of them. And it's just real quick. So then after I do all my 5s, what I would do is I would go to my 4s. So see this, let's see, where's right here. Here's a block of 4. I would fill that in, copy and paste, and then go to all my other blocks of 4. Here's a block of 4. Here's a block of 4. You get the idea. Then I would do my 3s, my 2s, and my 1s. But you can do that however you want. Okay, so you're going to get all those 5.83s filled in. Now, I'm going to go back here to my colors because we have to think about some different days. You'll notice that red is holy days and holidays. And you'll notice in the calendar, there's already red blocks because we've already done some of that work for you. You may need to change it. If, like this is Labor Day, all schools take Labor Day off. This is Thanksgiving. I would think all schools take that Thursday, Friday off. But if you would find that there's a day that you don't take, like this is February President's Day, let's say your school doesn't take that day, then just turn it back to white. They just, kind of did this for you to try to save you some time. This is Easter break. One thing that you can do that I typically would do when I was a principal, and again, you do not have to do this, but like, let's say for Thanksgiving here, Thanksgiving is really just Thursday. It's not Friday. So a lot of times what I did was I had Thursday be red, and then I came down here to the Friday, and I just wanted it to be orange where it says school closed. I could make that orange if I wanted. You don't have to, you just can. I'm sorry, that's Christmas. That is not Thanksgiving. Let me scroll down. Yeah, so this actually was the Thanksgiving block. You could make this Friday orange if you wanted. Same with Christmas. You know, we have the 24th and 25th red. You could make all of these other blocks red, or I always made them orange because in my mind, school was closed, but those days were not holidays or a holy day. So if the 23rd, I'm not going to have school, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to see what that orange color is. I clicked on that field, and then I'm going to click on this arrow by the bucket. And you'll notice that this orange right here has a red box around it. That tells me that's the color. So I'm going to click on that orange box. And then what I'm going to do, now notice this turned orange. And so now I can click on that and make that box orange. I can click on the 26th, click on the orange bucket. Click on the 27th, click on the orange bucket. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to make orange all the days that I'm not going to have school. So that's the orange color. Okay, let's talk about the blues, professional development days. You have to have at least 2 professional development days for your in-service days, 2 professional in-service days, and 1 religious in-service day. You can have more. Some schools have School of Faith, and they have 1 a month. You just have to have at least 2 professional in-service days and 1 religious in-service day. So I'm going to think about, well, what days am I going to have my PD days? Most schools have a PD day before school starts. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to have a professional in-service day on the 19th. Okay, so I'm going to go up here. I'm going to click on my blue color. Then I'm going to go up to the bucket arrow. Look for where I see the blue color. See, this has the red line around it. That's my blue color. Click on that. Okay, do that again. Oh, there it goes. Took a while to change. It changed to blue. So now I'm going to go down to the 19th, and I'm just going to click on the blue bucket, and it turns blue. A lot of times schools will have an in-service day, professional in-service day in October. So let's say I want to have October 14th. You'll notice Columbus Day is not marked here, and I know some schools take Columbus Day off, and I don't know what day Columbus Day is. Yes, I do. It's October 14th. So I'm going to have a professional development day on October 14th. Rather than taking the day off, which I could do, I'm going to have a professional development day. So I'm going to make that blue. You are also going to put in 5.83 on those professional development days because they do count as instructional time, and you will see later how the calendar accounts for that, and that's in the information tab. I'll show you that in a minute. So let's say I have one in October, and then, I'm going to have one, let's say in March next year. And let's say I want to do it March 17th. So I'm going to make that a professional development day. Again, I just click on the little blue bucket. It makes it blue. I put in my 5.83. Okay, so that's my professional development days. Again, you may have more. This is all that I'm going to have. Now, let's talk about parent conference days. Those are green. You have to have at least 2 parent conference days in the course of your year. You could have 2 in the fall, or some schools will have 1 in the fall and 1 in the spring. It doesn't matter. You can do what you want. I'm going to say that I'm going to have a parent conference day in the fall, and I'm going to have one in the spring. Now, my school does it a little differently. My school has parent conference days after school. And I shouldn't say a little differently. I'm sure there's many schools out there that do it that way. We have parent conferences after school days. So I'm going to go to November because this is where we typically did our parent conferences. We typically did our parent conferences the week before Thanksgiving in the evening. We would do like a Tuesday and a Thursday evening, and that would count as a parent conference day, one day. So but let me show you something. So normally, and again, remember, these are all filled. Pretend that these are all filled because I went through and I made them all 5.83. So if I have a parent conference day on Tuesday and Thursday after school, parent conferences after school, there's really no way to mark that because you cannot add minutes to this. The most hours minutes you can have in a field is 5.83. I can't say, okay, well, I have 4 hours of parent conferences, so I'm going to make this 9.83. You cannot do that. Okay. So what you do, and I know this is confusing, but what you do is you say, okay, well, I had parent conferences here and I had parent conferences here. So now I'm going to pick another day that I would normally, that I'm off school. Kids do not come in, teachers do not come in. I pick a day I'm off school, which at my case was always the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We did not have school on that day. But so what I'm going to do to show that I had parent conferences is I'm going to make this field green. So I'm going to go up to my green. I'm going to go up to the little down arrow. And you will notice here's my green one that has the little red box around it. I'm going to click that. That made the bucket green. So now I'm going to go down to that Wednesday and I'm going to make it green. So for the purposes of your regional director, you will send these calendars to your regional director. She will look at that and she will know like, oh, that might not actually be your parent conference day, but that's the day that you're counting as parent conferences. And again, I'm going to put in 5.83 because they do count. So that's my fall, and then I'm going to do the same thing in the spring. Again, I might have 2 evenings. If you do it in a day, you know, then that's your day of parent conferences. That makes it easier. But a lot of schools will do it in the evenings. So for the spring, I'm going to go to February 14th, and I'm going to make that another parent conference day. And again, my conferences might have been on that day, or they might have been in the evening some other day. So hopefully that makes sense to everyone, but you should have 2 green days with 5.83. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I am going to go back here to my information page. No, actually, I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen because I want to pull up one that's completed now so that you don't have to sit here and watch me fill this out. So I'm going to go back to my Teams here. And I'm going to stop sharing. And then I'm going to reshare. And I'm going to pull up a different one. So here we go. And hopefully you can see this. This is a calendar all filled out. So you will see that there's your Thanksgiving. Oh, you know what? I didn't do that Wednesday. I actually did the Tuesday. Doesn't matter. You can do whenever. Here's my Christmas break. This day was, we talked about that. That's your Columbus Day, but we're going to do a PD day. This is President's Day, so that's a holiday. We're going to take that off. This is your parent conference day. Back to that up with a holiday. Here's Easter. Now, many of you either take the Easter pause or some of you take the whole long break. And if you do, then this entire week could be orange because school is closed. Okay. Then for this particular calendar, our last day of school was May 30th. So that is yellow. Your first and last day of school are yellow. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to add up all of my days of school. I have to literally count them up. So what I typically do is I print the sheet out, and then at the bottom of each column, I write the number of days in that month. So I am going to count PD days, and I am going to count parent conference days. I'm going to count both of those. So when I go to August here, I'm going to count. No, correction. I am not going to count. Now I've just totally confused you. I am not going to count PD days. I am not going to count parent conference days because I'm going to add them in later. You'll see. Okay. So only count instructional days. So I'm going to start here with the yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So at the bottom of August down here, I'm going to put a 9 on my written form. You don't have to do it that way. You can do it however you want. Then I'm going to go to September and I'm going to count them up, which in my case is 20, and I'm going to put a 20 at the bottom of the column. Then I'm going to go to October. I am not going to count that PD day. So at the bottom of October, I will have 22. And you keep going over until you have all of your numbers, then you add them all up. Okay? After you have added all of your days up, your instructional days, you're going to go back over here to this information page, which is going to be finished now because I did this. But you will see I had 181 actual school days. So I'm going to put that number in that field. Okay. Then this number will pre-populate, 1055.83. Now, remember my confusion before about the PD days and the parent conference days. You'll see down here we add them back in, so we'll get to that. Okay, let's talk about late starts and early dismissals. We talked about that if you, like the first day of school, you have an early dismissal, instead of putting 5.83, you would put 3.83 or whatever it is. So you have to go and you have to count up how many hours there are for late starts and early dismissals, and you're going to put that number in here. And again, this number will pre-populate. I did not have any late starts or early dismissals. That's why that's 0. Then here you're going to add back in the hours for parent-teacher conferences, because remember I messed it up and I said, oh, count those. And then I said, oh, no, you don't count them. You don't count them. This is where you add them back in. So 11.66. And how I got that number is I took my 5.83 number, which is my number of instructional hours per day, times 2. 5.83 times 2 is 11.66. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. And then this is it adds that 11.66 into this 1055, and you get 1067. Now I have to go and I have to add in my 3 professional development days. And you can only add in 3. Even if you take 5 or 6 or 7, you can only count 3 days added in for instructional time. So I'm going to take my 5.83 number, my number of hours per day, times 3. And I get this 17.49 number. So I add that in. And then again, this just pre-populates, and you will notice that they match. So I know that I have done it correctly if these two match. Now, yes, they're off 0.6. The reason they're off 0.6 is because there was some rounding done up here. And so it might not match exactly. However, if you have like 1,084 here and 1,090 here, something's wrong. It should not be off that much. It should be pretty much within like one whole number of each other. So basically, this is saying that this is the number of hours per my calendar. This is the number of hours per this instruction sheet. So we need those to match pretty much right on. If they match, you're in pretty good shape. Now, let's talk about required hours, how many hours you need. This 1,084, I will be quite honest, in my opinion, is a little low. On your instruction sheet that you can print out that's in the principal bulletin, it talks about, the state of Ohio minimum requirements, and then it talks about our Archdiocese of Cincinnati hour requirements. One thing that your regional director will check, or at least maybe ask you, is you as a Catholic school need to have more hours than your public district. And you might ask why that is. And the reason is that we just have higher standards than our public school counterparts. And so we should have more hours than them. So what you will need to do is you will need to call your public school district, a school near you, a public school near you, or call the district and find out how many hours are in their calendar, and you have to have more than that. Okay, that is one requirement. Another requirement, and again, you will see this on these instructions, is the minimum number of instructional hours per year is 1,060. Okay, you cannot have fewer hours than 1,060. So I have 1,084, which is good, but this only allows 24 hours for calamity days, calamity hours. And to me, that's really, in my case, really only like 4 days. And that's a little uncomfortable for me. When I was principal and I would do this, it was usually around 1,100 is where I had my number. So I would, if I was doing this, I was the principal and I was doing this, I would find 2 more days back here in this calendar and I would add 2 more days in. I might go June 2nd and 3rd. Yeah, because I really don't have a lot of days here. I probably would go into June. But again, this is your decision only, what days you want to be in session. You just have to make sure that it follows the requirements. Okay, so I think I've covered that. I've covered the minimum number of hours. I am hoping I answered all of your questions. So then what you would do is notice down here, the CSO office signature, that's your regional director. You will send this template, and obviously they're going to look at both tabs. You're going to send this to your regional director, email this to them. They will sign off on it and date it. If they have corrections that they need to be made, they will let you know. Well, hopefully they'll let you know either way, that it's been approved or that they recommend some changes. I think that should do it. So hopefully this will give you the information that you need to complete this. We talked about the grade out days that are ADM days, which, it's interesting. My grade out days have disappeared on this calendar. And I even used the template, so I don't know what happened there. And then your blacked out days are weekends. So all of those blackout days are your weekend days. If for some reason this number here is not turning out to be equal, these two rows, you might want to go back to your calendar and just make sure that none of the blackout days have a number in them. So see how I clicked on this blackout day? Sometimes principals will get going so fast and putting 5.83s in where they might actually accidentally put a 5.83 on a weekend. So that's one thing you could check. Another thing you can check is just to make sure that your parent conference days are days that you are normally off, that the kids are not coming in, because that can mess up your number of hours equaling also. Okay, well, I hope this helped. If you have any questions, reach out to your regional directors. New principals, you can reach out to me. New principals, you can send your calendar to me and I can look at it before you send it to your regional director. I'm happy to do that. And we can talk about your calendar when I come to meet with you for our individual meetings. So thanks, everyone. And I hope everyone has a great day.